Hello, Sagradianos. Welcome to another episode of Remember Me Daily Readings for Lent. Um, Hope you guys are doing well. Right now it's pretty hot. It's literally like 100 degrees, but it's okay. It's uh, it's the price to pay to live where I live. But anyway, let's start off with the Tuesday after the fourth Sunday in Lent. Among other things needful in spiritual combat, one is the perseverance with which we must strive continually to mortify our passions, which in this life never die, but on the contrary, like evil weeds, shoot up every hour. And this is a battle from which, as it ends only with life, there is no escape, and he who fights not in it is of necessity either taken captive or slain. Besides, we have to deal with enemies who bear an unceasing hatred, so that from them we can never hope either for peace or a truce, because they slay those most cruelly who strive most to make friends of them. Thou hast no cause, however, to fear either their power or their number, for in the battle none can be a loser but he who wills it. The whole strength of our enemies is in the hand of the captain, who for those on who for whose honor we have to fight. And not only will he guard thee from all treachery, but he will even fight for thee, a being mightier than all these enemies. He will give the victory into thy hands, if only thou wilt fight manually together with him, or manfully with him, sorry, not manually, manfully, together with him, and trust not in thyself, but in his power and goodness. And if the Lord give thee not so speedy a victory, be not disheartened, but be the more assured that all things in which shall befall thee, those even which to thee may seem furthest from, yea, most opposed to thy victory, all he will turn to thy good and profit, if thou wilt but bear thyself as a faithful and generous warrior. This is by Scopoli. And then to end, this is by Saint Alphonsus Liguori. The soldier's fidelity is proved in battle, and blessed is he who is faithful in adversity. So this one I took a lot of notes, and we're just going to go over it. Let's go over the definition of perseverance. Perseverance, a moral virtue annexed to fortitude, disposing one to continue in any good work, whether spiritual or corporal, sacred or secular, without being daunted by besetting difficulties and discouragement. So I also agree with the reading. We must strive continuously to mortify our passions. We have to do that if we seek to win against the enemy, right? If we seek to win, we have to do that. So, what is this right here? Anyway, we have to do that, and let's go over the definition of mortification: the performance of acts of self discipline. The acts themselves, mortification, is a practice of asceticism, either by eternal curbing and killing love of self in all its manifestations, by denying it even blameless action, or physical by means of self inflicted bodily austerity. An example of this is the Friday penance. That's a form of mortification. We talked about it in an earlier episode, but I just want to go over for the sake of getting a better understanding of it, right? Of why we do the Friday Passion. Just a reminder, if you've forgotten why we do the Friday penance. Sorry, not Passion. The Friday penance. I think I said Passion, but anyway, the Friday penance. Why we do it? I think the Friday penance, the penance of the traditional penance of not eating meat on Friday, is the easiest form of mortification that one can do. Usually Friday is a day of, you got time to let loose. The weekend is here. But this Friday penance is the easiest way to keep us grounded in a way, keep us closer to God on the day that is dedicated to the crucifixion in the sanctified week. It is the easiest one because if we avoid eating meat, which typically, and if I read before in ancient times, it would mean that to eat red meat was like a form of celebration, and today is no different. To eat a hamburger is a form itself of celebration of taking it easy, letting loose. And I think the Friday penance is the easiest way to combat that. It's the simplest way of mortification, starting point. If you want to start, if you want to raise up the difficulty, you can also, I think St. John Bosco did this, you can avoid eating meat and having fasting, partial fasting, right, of one meal, even Wednesday, which is the day, right, in honor of Ash Wednesday, to keep that something that I've done for Wednesday, but I haven't kept up with it, so I have to keep up. But I do practice the Friday abstinence, the Friday penance of abstinence. Some people make the argument again, and I talked about it earlier in the series, but I'll go over it again. That when they changed it in the 60s, when they gave people the ability to choose their own penance, it has been proven that people give themselves the easy penance. Usually they'll say, "Oh, I'll pray another rosary," and that turns into, "I'm just not even going to do it anyway." And that's where we're at right now. This is why people are spiritually weak. They're spiritually weak because they don't do any acts of penance. They don't do any acts of mortification. They want God to do all the work. And the thing is when Christ invited us to pick up the cross and follow Him, right? Most Catholics today don't pick up their crosses. They're like, "Well, see you around, Jesus. See you to the end of time, and see you at the end of time." And they don't do that, which is pretty bad. We are called to pick up our crosses, and the easiest thing is the Friday penance. So if you're not practicing it, you probably should practice. If you don't practice the abstaining from meat, I would say that you're spiritually lazy. Sorry to start accusing people of anything like that, but usually what I've seen is people who don't practice that or people who avoid practice that are spiritually lazy. Um, let's see. Because yeah, we're in this battle, and as the reading says, right, mortification is important because we're in a battle, and this battle from which, as it only ends with life, there is no escape. So there is no escape from the world, the flesh, and the devil. There's no escape of it so long as we're alive, and that's why we have to do mortification. We have to train, and if we can pick up more, we should do it. If we can. He who fights not in it is of necessity either taken captive or slain. This is what's happened to a lot of Catholics. They haven't fought against the world, the flesh, and the devil, and unfortunately have become one with the world. We see a lot of quote Catholics. I have to call them that. I'm trying to be friendly around here. We have a lot of quote Catholics who you can't even tell if they're Catholic or not. The only way you can tell that they're kind of Catholic is maybe they have a rosary in their car, and not even that is much of a way to tell because most most people have most people have rosaries in their cars. So we can never hope we can never hope either for peace or a truce because they slay those most cruelly who strive most to make friends with them. And that's again going back to most Catholics, even most so-called Catholic influencers, Catholic content creators. They want to make friends with the world. They want to make friends with the enemy. And what happens is that you eventually get overtaken by them. Eventually, this belief that the world has, you pick it up. If you start being friendly with the world, stop mortifying your flesh, stop praying, and try to make peace with them, try to see them at even ground or whatever, try to meet them eye to eye. That's what happens. You start you start adopting their philosophy, their principles, their way of viewing things. And that's what happened in the new springtime, right? In the new springtime of the post 1965, right? From 1970 on, that's what we got. The post springtime. That's what it is. A bunch of people in the church, and for let me just give them the benefit of the doubt. Giving the benefit of the doubt, I assume they were well. I assume and I hope that they were well-meaning, but they weren't wise. They tried to make friends with people, and they were killed. Maybe not physically, but spiritually, they were killed. Um, has no cause, however, to fear either their power or their number, for in the battle none can be a loser but he who wills it. So, yeah, like if you use the sacraments, you go to confession, you spend time with the Blessed Sacrament, you go to Mass, um, you might fall, right? But you won't be a loser. You won't lose the war, right? Essentially. And that war is for your soul. You won't lose your soul. So you do have to, again, highlighting what we were talking about before, please um, confess, please spend time with the Blessed Sacrament, receive the Eucharist in the state of grace, of course, and go to Mass frequently if you can. The whole strength of our enemies is in the hand of a captain whose honor we have to fight. If the Lord, this is the captain we're talking about, give thee not so speedily a victory, be not disheartened. So we got Christ on our side. So as tough as the battle is, we have to keep fighting because eventually we will win. And that's the confidence. That's having faith. That's having hope. That's having charity, the three theological virtues. We have to believe in these things if we want to be victorious. If you lose faith, the enemy, the demons, they will get you. And victory is sometimes not instant. A lot of people, a lot of Catholics think that putting their faith, or you know, I would say they pretend to do that. They're not really into it. They don't really put their whole heart into it. They end up losing their faith in God because they want results tomorrow. And as a Catholic, I'd have to tell you, you have to be patient when it comes to these things. You have to be patient. You have to understand that if you do not receive the things that God gives you, it's not because He's not listening, but because He's doing stuff in His own time. And because He's the head, He is our head, Christ is our head, we have to do things on His time, not on us, and we have to be open to understand his explanations. And I have personal experience on this. Things will be explained, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in a year. I don't know if I mentioned this in a previous episode, but I've had things explained to me, of course not directly, but I've had things explained to me, shown to me, right? The reasons have been shown to me literally like 10 years after things have happened. So if you're confused about that, give God his time, have faith in him, pray, um, go to Mass, do not lose faith in him. God will reveal these things. Um, if you are of good, of a good nature and true in spirit, like true in, like you have the spirit of truth, you want to seek truth, God will reveal things that you think are an enigma. He will reveal them to you. So don't be disheartened, right? Even if you're trying to overcome porn, it might be difficult right now, but you have to, again, with mortification, you have to mortify your flesh. You have to spend time with Christ, be close with Christ, and victory will be assured. Sometimes not on your, like maybe not on your time. And the reason why, I would say personally, why I think God, I think Christ doesn't go ahead and vanquish stuff immediately, is because if he did that, you wouldn't have much appreciation for it. This is the truth in life. If things come easily, you don't appreciate it. But let's keep moving on. He, Jesus, will turn to thy good and profit, if thou wilt but bear thyself as a faithful and generous warrior. So we are warriors in the world, right? We are fighting. We are representing Christ. We are the church militant. We are in battle against the world, the flesh, and the devil. And like I said, we can't lose faith in God. We can't be mad at Him. We have to understand that we are on the winning side. We might not, you personally might not win battles today, but that doesn't mean that you're going to lose the war. And finally, a soldier's fidelity is proved in battle, and blessed is he who is faithful in adversity. So that's the thing. Um, there was, I've seen many people who, like in good spirits, they've tried to turn to the Catholic faith, try to turn to Christ, and they feel like they weren't getting the results as fast as they wanted to do. And in their despair, because that's what happens, the devil comes to them and tells them, "Oh, God can't hear you." And in their despair, these people leave the church, right? And it's very sad to see, because ultimately, right, I would say, to most of these people, they're more miserable now than when they were when they thought things were going bad. So we have to be loyal to God even in times of adversity, right? And adversity, it depends. Everybody has their different levels of adversity. Whatever your level of adversity is, whatever it may be, you don't have to, you can keep it to yourself. It could be small, it could be big. We don't know how big our crosses are, right? A cross that's like, man sized to you might be one like this to me, and vice versa. But we have to be faithful to Christ. We can't lose our faith in Him. We can't lose our trust in Him. We can't fall into despair, because if we do that, we will we will eventually leave God, and that's not a good thing, because the only path the only path available once you abandon Christ is hell. So I just want to remind you guys that you guys got to keep the faith up. You guys got to keep your confidence. You got to pray. Got to be around God as much as you can, and do not spend too much time alone. Do not spend too much time away from the sphere of influence that Christ has on you, because if you do that, the enemy will rip you from his grasp. And let me tell you, as spiritually prepared as you feel right now, you might think that you can take on the whole world, and I'm here to tell you, if you think that, you're spiritually weak. If you believe that, you can relax a bit and nothing will happen to you, you're spiritually weak. Someone who's spiritually strong would never think that, would never want to leave the sphere of influence. And I beg you, to all my Catholic friends out there, to anybody watching this now or in the future, do not leave the sphere of influence of Christ ever. It's not worth it. And most people, probably you might be one of those people, you will not survive that bad influence, because most people don't have the willpower to, and that's humility. I don't have the willpower to. That's why I try to keep myself away from that kind of stuff, and that's why I suggest you keep away from that kind of stuff. But anyway, this was a good talk, a longer talk than I've